So you want to hear a story? I got one for you. It's January 1878. A quiet 13-year-old girl from rural Illinois collapsed without warning. When she woke up, she was no longer herself. She spoke with the voice of a dying woman. She knew intimate details of a life she had never lived, and she insisted, calmly, repeatedly, that she was already dead. This would become one of the most disturbing and well-documented possession cases in American history. They called it the Watseka Wonder. Welcome to Now It's Dark. Watseka, Illinois was a small farming town, orderly, religious, and deeply suspicious of anything out of the ordinary. In the summer of 1877, Lurancy Venom, age 13, suffered a series of epileptic fits, often lapsing into unconsciousness. After awakening, she told her family that she had been to heaven, had seen angels, and had visited her younger brother and sister who had died before her. She said she could see dead people, friends and family members that had passed. At first, doctors diagnosed epilepsy, but the symptoms didn't make sense. She screamed that invisible figures were surrounding her. She claimed they were pulling her towards death. She begged her parents to let her die because they were waiting. Then something changed. Lurancy went silent. Her body went limp. And when she spoke again, it wasn't Lurancy's voice. From this moment on, the doctors stopped writing notes. They started praying. Lurancy introduced herself as Mary Ruff. Mary claimed she had died 12 years earlier. She described her illness in exact medical detail, including seizures, paralysis, and the day she stopped breathing. Doctors, of course, were skeptical. Until she began naming names. She correctly identified members of the Ruff family. She described the interior of their home with precise detail. She recalled personal arguments and conversations, events, and memories that were never publicly known. It was a small town, and in no time, the Ruff family had heard the story. Asa Ruff, whose daughter Mary had suffered similar afflictions before her death in 1865, visited the Venom family with his wife Dorothy. Asa Ruff was a spiritualist who believed his daughter had been a spirit medium. She too had suffered seizures and claimed to be able to speak with the dead. Doctors could not find a physical cause for Lurancy's ailments, and in January 1878, diagnosed her as incurably insane and recommended she be sent to an asylum. Mary Ruff had died in an asylum in 1865 at just 18 years old, and Asa Ruff didn't want the same fate for Lurancy. Asa Ruff convinced her parents not to commit her, but instead to call physician E. Winchester Stevens, who was also a spiritualist. When Dr. Stevens visited Lurancy, she was in a very agitated state. After calming her down, he hypnotized the young girl. She said she was possessed by two spirits, Katerina Hogan, who had passed at 63 years old, and Willie Canning, who had passed at the age of 20. She said she was afraid of the two spirits and thought they were evil. She went on to say she would prefer to be possessed by a kinder spirit. While still under hypnosis, she stated she could see other spirits, including the spirit of Mary Ruff. They told her she should let Mary Ruff come through to communicate. Lurancy's personality changed along with her voice. The Ruffs said it was the voice of their daughter Mary. When Mary, speaking through Lurancy, saw them, she wept. She called them mother, father, and she begged to go home. By now, No one was calling this an illness. Not out loud, anyway. What was happening to Lorancy had crossed a line medicine could not follow. Against medical advice and against the warnings of clergy, the Venom family allowed Lorancy to go live with the Roths. What happened next defied explanation. Lorancy, still claiming to be Mary, took up Mary's old routines, wore her clothes, slept in her former bedroom, recognized childhood friends and family members on sight. She reacted emotionally to objects Mary once owned and asked her parents, the Roths, for the box of letters she had written. In the box were letters and mementos Lorancy was able to identify. When she saw Mary's sister Minerva, she greeted her as Nervy, something Mary had called her but no one else had in the 12 years since Mary's passing. Doctors and witnesses came from miles away. Many attempted to expose her as a fraud. They all failed. Mary answered questions Lorancy could not possibly know. And she did something else. She predicted the future. Mary's tone began to change. She no longer sounded grateful. She sounded bound. Mary told the Roths she would not be able to stay forever. She said, "I was only allowed to come back for a little while. I must return." After nearly 5 months of living with the Roths, she announced her departure. She said a heartbreaking goodbye to the Roths, and then Lorancy collapsed once more. Witnesses said her body shook violently. When she woke up, she was Lorancy again. She remembered nothing. No voices, no possession, no months spent living another girl's life. She said she felt as if she had been asleep for a very long time. Lorancy returned home. She grew up, she married, she lived a long, healthy, and quiet life, and never suffered from another seizure. The Roth family, however, never recovered. Mary was gone again. Doctors remained divided. Some called it hysteria, some called it dissociation. Others admitted, off the record of course, that the case contained too many verified details to dismiss. Over 200 pages of testimony were recorded. No evidence of fraud was ever proven. If Lorancy was pretending, then she was the most convincing fraud anyone had ever witnessed. If she was ill, then something else was speaking through that illness. And if Mary truly returned from the dead, then the most terrifying possibility is this: Mary may not have been the only one waiting for a body. If Lorancy was only pretending, how did she know things she had never learned? If it was an illness, why did the voice belong to a girl who had already died? And if Mary really did return, was she borrowing a body? Or was Lorancy never truly alone to begin with? Some hauntings don't trap spirits in houses. Sometimes they trap them in people. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. Give me a like if you can afford it. Subscribe if you want to hear more. And thank you for watching. Now it's dark.